Pentacle, chapter 29, the son. You know, like the son, not somebody's kid. That night, Oberon got a text message from Kane. I'm sorry for saying that Malik is prettier than you. It is not as if I had the heart for him or anything, and I miss you. And if you will still have me in spite of my many faults, please come home. What faults, Kane? Said Oberon, speaking to himself. You have always been perfect. I feel guilty about sleeping with you if you're not physically attracted to me, tested Oberon. You have my consent. There's no reason to feel guilty, tested King. As for attraction, I do not become inspired by the sight, but rather by touch. Good, we're finally making progress, thought Oberon, and it was easy to have a serious conversation by text message. Why don't you tell me that you love me when we make love? Asked Oberon. The first time you tried to sleep with me, I told you that I loved you, or don't you remember? And you lost your inspiration immediately. That's why I was speaking when we make love, since I imagine that you find my voice distracting, tested King. Oh my God, I forgot, tested Oberon before putting the facepalm emoji. And that incident felt like it happened such a long time ago, and he asked tentatively, can you come over to my sister's house? Oberon, it's late, and tomorrow we have work. Pretty please, insisted Oberon, pushing his luck. And Kane looked at his empty bed, and his cat Julia was spending the night with her sibling, and Michael was probably going to end up keeping his cat, and Kane fancied that it was for the better. He didn't like the thought of being responsible for a creature made of flesh and blood. And he made a small duffel bag before heading towards the car, and his father sprung from his bed to stop him. If you go, he's just going to continue making unreasonable demands, hissed Jack. And you need to set limitations. But I miss him, said Kane sadly. And I will miss you if you get into a stupid accident, said Jack, taking Kane's key. Now get back inside the house and go to bed. You haven't had the right to boss me around, hissed Kane. I know, said Jack, lowering his gaze, and his eyes were quickly watering. But if Dad were here, he would want you to exercise prudence. I'm sorry, said Kane apologetically. He drew close to his father to give him a comforting hug, and Jack took his cell phone to test Oberon. This is Jack. It is late. Jack off and go to sleep. And Oberon closed his cell phone with a huff, and he was feeling particularly skittish, and he had gotten used to sowing his wild oats on a daily basis, and his body missed Kane, and more so than his mind and his soul, and he hadn't gotten his fill yet, and there were still so many things he wanted to do to Kane. The following morning came, and Oberon was awakened by the smell of bacon, and the smell felt so close, almost as if somebody was dangling a piece of meat near his face, and when he opened his eyes, he was delighted to see that there was indeed a piece of bacon near his face, and he frowned when he saw the hand that was holding out the piece of bacon. He reluctantly accepted what he considered a peace offering, and he jumped out of bed and he did his morning libations before getting dressed for work. And during breakfast, his father asked, "Did you buy the apartment?" "I was going to, but I changed my mind at the last moment," said Oberon. "Are you studying then?" asked Francis. "I don't know," said Oberon. "Suit yourself," said Francis, closing his mouth. "And what is that supposed to mean?" asked Oberon. It means whatever you want it to mean," said Francis, being passive-aggressive. "God, you're both stubborn mules," sparked Veronica, rubbing her temple. And this was not how she imagined living together with her father and brother. "And you two used to get along so well, or do I need to bring out the home movies to remind the both of you of how things used to be?" "Oberon, you changed after you slept with a snake, and when I look at you, son, I feel as if I'm staring at a stranger," said Francis, dropping his mask of indifference. Francis left the table in a huff, and he had been raised to bottle up his emotions and to never show weakness, and he locked himself in the bedroom to avoid the situation by the name of Oberon, and Oberon grew saddened after hearing his father's latest outburst of honesty. This is no use, sis," said Oberon, sighing wearily, and he went to his bedroom to pack his things, and all around he saw reminders of the person he used to be, and he turned his eyes to a hanging photo, and the photo showed a small Oberon wearing a golden medal, and he had lost his first gymnastic tournament, and since he was sad at not getting a medal, his father had given him one, along with a laurel crown, and he opened a drawer to look at the gold medal that his father had given him. Now that he was older, he realized that it was made of actual gold, and he pondered sadly how many hours of overtime his father had spent in the factory to give him such a shiny consolation prize. He had loved his father very much, but that love had turned to hatred equally as strong after getting thrown out of the house. And perhaps things would have been different had he told his father about Sean, and he had only kept the relationship a secret because Sean had asked Overton not to tell anyone. And it was not as if Francis had ever expressed himself like someone who was obviously homophobic. He was disdainful towards the community, just like he was disdainful to most things that didn't affect him directly. And his entire life had revolved around making his children into sports stars, and he thought that into the sports stars he thought he was meant to be. Like vicariously living through his kid. Oberon went to his job at Eugenia's house, and he spent that time overanalyzing his father. "There are worse things than being a clown," said Oberon while working out with Dorothy. "Come again?" asked Dorothy. "My dad hates me for being a gay clown," said Oberon, pouting. "You're not a clown, you're more of an acrobat," said Dorothy, remembering Oberon's last performance. "My sister forced us to make peace, but it didn't happen," said Oberon, pouting. "You can't force reconciliations, it has to come naturally. You need to want it, and your dad needs to desire the same thing," said Dorothy. "Veronica seems to think that Dad is too stubborn to want to make peace, but that already says things clearly. He misses the old me, but not the person that I have become," sighed Oberon. "My dad also misses the old Eugenia," said Dorothy, "and the thing is that it is normal for adults to start loving their children as they grow up. Our parents are human after all, and they can't help but disliking a person that they find disagreeable, even if they are their own flesh and blood." "How can you be so blasé about your father not loving your sister?" begged Oberon before placing his weights on the floor. "You reap what you sow," said Dorothy caustically. "If you are bad to a person all the time, that person has the right to hate you." "Yes, that person does have the right to hate you," said Oberon sadly. "And I had the right to hate him as well." The workday came to an end, and Oberon picked up Julia to take her home, and he chose the long route back to King's house, and it gave him plenty of time to meditate on his feelings. And back at home, King too was overthinking, and when they were finally face to face, they came to a decision. That's the end of that chapter. Bye-bye and God bless.